All right, guys, the market is continuing higher, just chugging along, following through. This might be the strongest market, specifically tech, but I mean, the market right now, this might be the strongest move I've ever seen. And I've been doing this over 13 years. I mean, maybe barring some crypto cycles, but this is incredible. It really just is. We had a couple CPI, PPI prints that were not ideal, we'll call it that, and shook it off, closed at all-time highs again. So I want to touch on that a little bit. I've got some new ideas, some fresh ideas here today. You'll want to see. We're going to do market breadth and take a look at some triple R ideas coming up, some rotation that I'm seeing out there, and some more peg plays on the radar, maybe even a narrative trade or two. But I got to touch on that. It's like the reasoning behind this, or just our knowledge of how macro should work. Everyone's got different backgrounds and stuff. And I just have to say, especially from a swing trading standpoint, do your best, never speak in absolutes. Okay. And don't fight this move, right? Of course, there's a part of me that's just start getting some puts, on the market, or, Q puts or SPY puts, whatever, but, I'm not going to do it. Okay. I'm not going to fight this market. It's screaming strength, follow through, resilience, all of it, you guys. So listen, I understand that, this seems unsustainable, and it is. The market will pull back, but that creates our opportunity. Okay. And if you've never been here before, my bread and butter model, triple R, retracement, reaction, remount. Okay. That's what I'm waiting for. It will come, but just know that that's an opportunity to reset the move, to confirm the trend, because we don't have a trend right now, at least on the daily, right? We've just got a breakout that's running away. All right. So once this thing pulls back and we can stress test this move, see some rotation into other sectors, that would be a very healthy look. And look, if you want to go short for a few days or whatever, call top, be my guest, right? But I'm more excited about seeing the stress test of this move, seeing the market pull back, see if it can find some support, right? Where does that happen? Where do we get the reaction? Because the retracement is coming. Now, we have this long-term channel, right? So what can I do? I can build scenarios, if this and that. That's all I can do, right? I don't want to try to overthink things or force my bias onto the market, right? What I think should happen. Guys, just wait for structure, okay? This thing will pull back. Where does it react off of? That long-term channel high, right? Back over the 9 on that would be a retracement, reaction, remount of the 9. That would be a triple R, right? We've got a soft swing low here and here. Reactions off of those would be strong. Reaction off of prior all-time high would be strong. Off the 50 would be strong. Off of the 200 at this point. And the gap up low right there would be strong. I mean, there's so much room for a pullback to find its footing, right? To find support and then re-trigger, resume trend. So retracement, reaction, remount, resume trend back over the 9 is what I'm looking for. Okay. I'm not going to go short in this market, just like I wasn't going long when we started losing the daily, weekly, and monthly levels, right? I wasn't going to fight the move down in the market. I'm not going to fight this move up in the market. Okay. It's speaking to us. It's telling us, get on board. Okay. And, that doesn't mean chase, doesn't mean that I'm going to change the way that I do things, right? Just because I feel like the market is running away. And frankly, it is, right? But I know that it will pull back, and that is where I can set my ground rules, right? I have nothing to risk off of right here, except an arbitrary prior day low or something like that. No, I'm going to, markets move, okay? This isn't a new thing. Markets can get going, right? Look at this move off of the tariff sell-off, right? And things started to really rip up. But guys, pullbacks come and they set up opportunities. So that's what I'm looking for. Same thoughts here in the Qs. Now, let's finish that up. RSP, so there's a little bit of a divergence here, right? So you've got the SPY and the Q. Well, the Qs and the equally weighted Qs are almost even, right? The Qs are a little bit higher. The equally weighted has a slight divergence. But the SPY RSP divergence is more noticeable, right? SPY's all the way up here. The equally weighted, same 503 stocks. Not really, it hasn't broken out yet, period, right? And not showing the same strength. So that's something we need to notice. And that becomes very clear, when you start to just dive into the other sectors, right? Tech is taking us higher, guys. Tech. All right. Most of the other sectors are lagging. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and pull up ClearTape here. Actually, all of the other sectors, healthcare has snuck his way up in there to improving. One of the ideas we're going to look at here, but most of the other sectors have been lagging for a couple of weeks now, right? That becomes obvious here in the relative rotation graph. We are hanging out here in the lagging quadrant. We do want to begin to pay attention if things start to improve, if money rotates out of tech. It's what we want to see, especially in the pullback. Where does that money go, right? So pay attention to things that pop up into improving, even into leading. We want to be checking out the rotation page and finding ideas. So that's next step. Okay. Like as the pullback begins to happen and things stall out, which we can see, like leadership is narrowing. All right. The breadth regime is defensive and there was really no flow yesterday, right? Which is an interesting thing to see, because the markets went higher, but most things really are beginning to stall out, right? Even some of the larger tech names, right? You've got something like, I think MXL is beginning to stall out. I mean, the hottest stock in the market right now. Yeah. Stalling out just a little bit, just going sideways, really consolidating. That's okay. Any future triple R's on MXL are on the radar, but some of these things that have really been leading, let's go to the leaders tab here, are just stalling out just a little bit. It's all good here. Even memory starting to go sideways. So, it makes sense that we're seeing no flow and defensive narrowing signals, stuff like that. All right. Nothing to be worried about, guys. We've been up for like 30 days in the market, straight up every single day. Okay. This is stuff that we should be expecting to see. Some other things, I've been mentioning that's worrying me. You've got the McClellan oscillator here, been below zero for a while. You get your move up off of March 30th and then start to pull back. And then you've got your cumulative. So there's more stocks declining versus advancing. Here's your move off of late March, up, 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 up. And then most stocks have actually been stalling out and even pulling back. All right. While tech has gone higher. So that's a divergence. That is a breadth signal that you must notice. It tells you where to focus and where to be cautious. Okay. Be patient for the other 10 sectors. Tech, have at it. If you want to be more aggressive. All right. So some things that are standing out to me, the Cyclone tool today. Guys, this is ClearTape, all right? A tool that it's a market breadth dashboard, leadership identifier. Simply put, it tells me where to focus, okay? And, leadership is where I want to be focused. And this is giving me the strongest names. It's showing me the rotation. And a signal that I'm noticing here today on Cyclone that I have not yet is financials, all right? I've been looking at this thing daily for a while now, and I have not seen... I'm pretty sure I've not noticed a single XLF or financials sector name on the Cyclone tool. And, there's a few of them in here today. We've got, looks like, Goldman Sachs is in here. We've got Ben, which is Franklin Resources, XLF, CBOE, right? So we want to check these things out and just notice that. Now, I want to cross-check that against the financial sector and just be reminded that the entire sector is lagging, right? So the tool shows you all of this, makes it all very simple. But guys, it's right here. Look at XLF. Come on. The market is literally up here. Okay. XLF is lagging and actually looking a little bit nasty. Okay. It could bounce. And if it holds this gap level, I'm not overly worried at all. Right. But this thing needs to get back on its horse. But what is interesting, noticing this here on the tool, specifically Cyclone, is some of these names that are early leaders in the space, guys. So get these things on your radar. All right. And the other thing I want to talk about is China. Okay. So you got, the administration has flown themselves out there with a dozen CEOs. And guys, this is really interesting. I don't want to get into macro or certainly not politics, opinions or anything like that. Okay. The grandmasters are going to play chess. Okay. Don't kid yourself and think what's going on or what's going to come from this. All right. Come on, have a little humility. Like, you don't know what's going on. Okay. You don't have to know. That's another thing. Okay. We can start to notice and allow the markets to tell us what it thinks about what's going on out of there, the headlines coming out and decisions being made. Well, day one, heyo. Okay. You got the large cap China ETF here popping up. You've got something like KWEB as well popping up. All right. On volume, guys, we want to be noticing that. That's pretty big volume right there. So we want to start to notice that and see if this change of character can hold. Let's jump over to the weekly. Yeah, nothing really standing out to me there on the weekly, but we want to be watching the China names. Guys, if they come out of there and, I saw a Z or Chi, a quote that something about, they're at the big round table with all the delegates and just everyone. And I heard him say that we shouldn't be enemies, something along, I put it in chat. We should be partners, not rivals, right? Now, again, guys, like the whole frickin' world leaders. Like, we're trained to just, think the worst, okay? The worst outcome to come and, all that kind of stuff. Again, I don't want to get into that, but that's just a very interesting snippet right there coming out of that meeting is that, like, if they come out of that and that, all the CEOs, or not all, but some of the biggest CEOs of America over there, meeting with them, the president's meeting, if the talk comes out of this as partnerships, like, guys, like, whoa, that could get crazy. That could get crazy. So just monitor it on the charts, okay? The squawkers on CNBC and the Twitter guys and all the stuff, right? Like, everyone's going to share their opinion. I look to the charts, okay? I look to the charts. They're going to tell the truth, all right? The real money's going to flow where it believes it needs to be flowing, all right? So just monitor China is all I'll say. Not always, but I've for a while said China is a headline sensitive environment. But frankly, I've kind of scaled saying that back a little bit, and it's just how the markets are, right? The current administration, the current president moves the market, okay? When he talks about anything. So that's more broad. Like, I don't want to just be nitpicky and say, oh, China's sketchy or energy sector is sketchy. Like, listen, control your size, take good setups, right? Stop deviating and don't try to change your life in any one trade. And it's okay to expose when you get your triggers. All right. Just control your size, risk profile. All that stuff matters, guys. If you're spinning tires in these markets and losing money, you need somebody that's going to help you build those things. A risk profile, learn to match it with the market risk environment, market breadth, learn to read market breadth, know when to apply, what models, all that stuff, guys. I have a mentorship where I work with you one-on-one, teach you all of that. Bootcamp.WarrenSnax.com. It gets you lifetime access to me, mentorship, and the community. I would love to have you. But you know what, guys? I feel like I want to focus up on the peg plays right now. There's a few of them still on the radar. This is RSI, something that ClearTape put on my radar yesterday. I mean, look at this giant cup and handle, IPO cycle, all-time high, range breakout, peg play, gap up, all the stuff here, all the stuff. It held that gap up low right here, guys. Pretty good look. If we don't close that gap, gaps don't have to fill. Okay. And when they don't, it's a bullish signal. So if we can hold this level and get back over, let's slap in our anchored VWAP here. Get back over the upslope anchored VWAP and the point of control. That would be a peg play trigger that is worth watching on something that, look at the accumulation here in this name. Really, really attractive. Guys, I did a peg play video yesterday on the channel. You can find it. All right. It's something you should go watch. Peg plays are very hot right now. So guys, a lot of these things are triggering, following through. Man, peg plays need to be on your radar. A few that I am watching. Man, that had a shot yesterday. Wow. I think I might need to get a little bit more aggressive. These tech peg plays are just firing off right now. I mentioned some narrative plays. So we're looking at ZM right here, and it's got the look of a narrative play. For narrative plays, I like rounding bottoms, okay, basing rounding bottoms that break out on some accumulation volume, which we are beginning to see a little bit of, certainly nothing standing out. The narrative here, I struggled to, it has the look, right? But I struggled to put a finger on what the narrative for Zoom could be at this point. I think maybe it's right. So like software is getting hit very hard with AI and people building softwares of their own, right? But Zoom is one that it's almost like, why would you go make a video service, right? And then try to send it out. Like just everyone has Zoom, right? Or something like that. Everyone has Zoom. Okay. So I think that one's actually like kind of safe. Whereas like all the like CRM and, oh gosh, HubSpot and all that kind of stuff. Like people are building their own things better, right? For that. It's more in tune with their companies and the way that their workflows happen and stuff like that. And they're building their own agents. But like something like Zoom, like why build that? Why rebuild that? Pay the $25 a month or your employer does that for you. Anyways, I think that maybe that's the narrative is they might be safe from this whole like AI is taking everything over. I don't know, but I think Zoom might have a narrative there. And then something that I found out is that they are an investor in Anthropic, a significant investment in Anthropic. And when that goes public, they're going to make a fat chunk of cash on that. And that is really interesting. It's something new that I've been noticing, that like these companies are diversifying, right? Like, of course, acquisitions has always been a thing, but buying shares or getting private stakes in these giant AI companies, it's just very interesting. I didn't know that. And that's it's Google does it, right? Google owns, I think, like 15% of Anthropic. They've got SpaceX exposure, right? Pre-IPO stuff, right? So it's just really cool. I didn't know that Zoom did that. So that's interesting. But guys, what are we doing here? Who cares about everything I just said, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to trade this thing? So we have the 6 months of sideways consolidation breakout, right? And this thing tried to do it right here. And I did take a trade. I did lose a little bit of money on this, or it was break even, something in that world. But this is right when the markets really began to get nasty, back in like early February. So anyways, listen, the market has recovered. We've broken back out of the zone. What do we do? First triple R, guys. Very, very simple. Retracement, reaction, remount. I'd love this to pull back a little bit more. Like you can't always get what you're asking for, but something like that. This thing pulls back to that, so give me a couple more days down. Maybe let the market pull back a little bit, and trigger back through. It's got to be looked at. And then also we do have earnings. I didn't notice that. Don't love that. That's unfortunate. Okay. That is unfortunate on earnings. This does have a good long-term look. If you want to consider shares or leaps, control your size. I'm not doing any of that, guys. Okay. Personally, maybe I guess we're going to have to let this thing get through earnings and look at the next setup. All right. It's all good. These things repeat. All right. They repeat. So that's something that was on the radar. Still worth, mentioning, guys. This is the kind of stuff that I look at all the time. I saw some people took ARM yesterday, or someone at least took ARM yesterday. Beautiful triple R entry right there. I love it, man. You're, you know who you are. You got some, cojones, dude. You're out there just doing stuff, man. I like it. Yeah. I saw you got paid on this AOI trade. My man. Just give my money to you. All right. WLG remains strong. Flex is a ripper. Okay. This is an IPO play that we were watching, absolutely ripping higher. STLD still looking for an entry here into the steel trade. Let's look at XLB. Yeah, this is shaping up a little bit. I do want to see this thing clear range, but if materials can get hot again, I would really like to participate in that. I still think that rare earths and stuff. Let's look at Remax. Yeah, rare earths still leading here. Hanging out at all-time highs. I'm not sure that I would call this a market leader, right? Some stuff is going vertical, but, I saw some people or in MP. Yeah, I want to talk about this. I do have to say, I believe the day that I saw some people entering on this, we never had a close below the 9. So like by definition, triple R, we never had a close below the 9. Okay. A little preemptive on that for my taste. Everyone does their own thing. And hey, maybe you were trading the hourly. Let's look at that. I don't know. I don't know where you would have done it. Maybe you were getting in right here or something off of the hourly. But listen, for my taste, a little preemptive. We need a close below the 9, which now we're getting. This is attractive. Reaction off the 200 back over the 9. That could work out. CRML. Let's check out the whole space. CRML. Yeah, this thing's closing down below the 9. We talked about REA. This is a recent IPO. All right. And I was saying, watch this thing back over 25 on the hourly. Yeah. So doing that, triple R's after that happened. Bang, bang. A little bit of one yesterday as well. Well, yeah, you got to close below. Anyways, guys, there's so much heat out there right now. There's so many impressive moves, but guys, do remember the state of the market. All right. We are absolutely ripping and running away, and we need that to retrace, react, and remount. We need to see some capital move into other sectors and validate this move to be broad and not just tech leading us higher where everyone's going to scream bubble every day. Let's just see what things happen when the rotation does come. We will be able to spot it here. ClearTape.app. Check it out. This is a fantastic tool for getting market breadth at a glance. Okay. Seeing where the rotation is, identifying the leaders, tells you where to focus. This tool is great and getting better every single day. Real quick, we'll check out a couple. Onto is a name that I've been looking at. Forum. Yeah, man, look, we've got some serious recent leadership. AVGO. Wow. Yeah, there's some ideas out there, you guys. But yeah, I just want to say that, one last thing, actually, let's go over to healthcare because that is an improving sector. So we've got biotech, pharma creeping up into improving, and we've got managed care leading with confirmed aggressive inflow. All right. We've got HUM, CNC, UNH, ELV, CI. What do we do with that information? All right. You go over to HUM. You look at the daggone chart. What do we see? A change of character on volume. Guys, start paying attention. Next triple R. All right. UNH. Same idea. We got to change a character. All right. Next triple R is worth considering, knowing this has, real flow into the sector, meaning institutional accumulation, aggressive accumulation into the managed health sector. So check those names out. Keep an eye on them. Next triple R. I'll be looking at that. And I want to continue to monitor those financial names popping up on that Cyclone tool is interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that. If we start to see, whenever the money does rotate out of tech, you got to assume some of that's going into financials, the second heaviest weighted sector by market cap in the market. The third is healthcare. So maybe we start to see some early signs there. Okay. I also like robotics. I also like the space theme. I also like rare earths. Some materials and like industrial names are looking really good as well. Guys, there's a lot to like. Don't fight this market, okay? At least with the majority of your money. If you gotta hit the short button because this looks crazy, control your size, all right? But listen, call on top is a fool's game historically. It is extremely difficult to do. The markets have always climbed a wall of worry. You don't know where this thing is going to end. It does not have to stop going up because you've entered a short. Guys, just stay safe, manage your risk, and I'll see you soon.